In the last episode, we met the dreamers of the 1850s, the men who filled the sky with clockwork airships, steam engines, and ideas that almost worked. Most of them failed. But one man was watching, and unlike the inventors before him, he wasn't an engineer. He was a stubborn cavalry officer who refused to quit. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. When most people picture the inventor of the Zeppelin, they imagine a lifelong scientist, a quiet genius surrounded by blueprints and equations. Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin was none of those things. In fact, he didn't seriously begin building airships until he was 52 years old, after being forced into early retirement and effectively pushed out of the military career that defined his life. To understand why he succeeded, we have to go back to 1863. At the time, Zeppelin was a young German cavalry officer sent to the United States as a military observer during the American Civil War. Somehow, he managed to secure a meeting at the White House, where he met President Abraham Lincoln, whom he described as a tall, slightly awkward figure with untidy hair, but kind and thoughtful eyes. Armed with a pass from Lincoln himself, Zeppelin traveled freely with Union forces, studying warfare with intense curiosity. Then, something unexpected happened. While traveling near St. Paul, Minnesota, he took his first ride in a tethered balloon. Most people might have admired the view. Zeppelin immediately began thinking about reconnaissance, about seeing enemy positions, about controlling the battlefield from the sky. To him, flight wasn't romance. It was strategy. Back in Europe, Zeppelin developed a reputation as a daring officer, or, depending on who you asked, a hothead. During one campaign, ordered to deliver a message across a flooded river, he didn't search for a bridge or a boat. Instead, he dove straight into the current wearing full uniform, boots, and sword, barely making it across alive. Boldness defined him. It would also nearly ruin him. In 1890, Zeppelin made a career-ending mistake. He wrote a confidential memorandum directly to Kaiser Wilhelm II, criticizing military leadership and offering unsolicited advice on how the empire should be run. The Kaiser was not amused. In the margins, he scribbled a short response expressing his surprise at such opinions, and soon afterward, the 52-year-old Count found himself forced into retirement, suddenly unemployed, publicly embarrassed, and unsure of his place in the world. Zeppelin turned toward an idea that had fascinated him for decades: controlled flight. The problem was, almost no one took him seriously. He was mocked across Germany as the fool of Lake Constance. Even the Kaiser reportedly called him the dumbest of all South Germans. Engineers dismissed his early proposals, including one extraordinary design of an aerial express train made of linked flying cars drifting through the sky like a locomotive. But Zeppelin was stubborn. Instead of abandoning the dream, he invested his personal fortune into building something no one had ever successfully achieved: a rigid-powered airship. His first real machine, the LZ-1, was constructed inside a massive floating hangar on Lake Constance so the entire structure could rotate into the wind before takeoff. The engineering solutions were creative. To control the ship's pitch, the crew had to crank a heavy lead weight back and forth along a track beneath the airship. On its maiden flight in 1900, the mechanism jammed almost immediately, the engine struggled, and the craft barely remained controllable. Eventually, the ship was dismantled and sold for scrap. And yet Zeppelin continued. Even the materials inside the airship sounded unbelievable. To hold hydrogen gas, engineers used something called gold beater skin, thin membranes made from the outer layers of cattle intestines. Hundreds of thousands of them were cleaned, stretched, and glued together into enormous gas cells. It worked, mostly. Although, while parked in hangars, mice occasionally attempted to eat the airship from the inside out. Early Zeppelin development was not elegant. It was persistence disguised as progress. Then came 1908. Zeppelin's newest airship, LZ-4, attempted a daring 24-hour endurance flight meant to prove the concept once and for all and secure government funding. During a repair stop near Echterdingen, disaster struck. A sudden storm tore the ship from its moorings. The massive airship crashed into a tree and burnt before thousands of stunned spectators. It looked like the end. Instead, it became the turning point. The German public saw not failure, but determination. Donations poured in from across the country. Children emptied piggy banks. Ordinary citizens mailed money, food, even hand-knitted gifts. Within weeks, more than 6 million marks had been raised, enough to fund the Zeppelin company that would finally make rigid airships practical. The man once mocked as a fool had become a national hero. And the irony? The same Kaiser who forced Zeppelin into retirement soon arrived in person, awarded him one of Germany's highest honors, and publicly praised him as one of the greatest figures of the age. After decades of ridicule and failure, the sky had finally accepted him. The strange experiments of the 1850s had proven ideas. Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin proved persistence. And for a brief moment in history, giant airships would cross oceans, carry passengers in luxury, and make humanity believe that the future of flight might not belong to airplanes at all. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.